Hey, welcome. This is Steve Goodner, and we are back talking about what I think is really important for anybody who is trying to sell something. And by the way, you don't have to just be a salesperson to be selling. If you're a leader, you're selling your ideas to your team and to other people. If you're an entrepreneur, you're selling what you do as your passion to other people so you can actually do the work that you want to do. Well, today I want to focus in on what I'm calling the unseen saboteur to our sales success. And what do I mean by that? I'm talking about limbic friction. So, those of you who know me know I love the science part, psychology, neuroscience, all of those things that are happening in our brain. I'm not going to go deep into the science here. I want to keep this really practical. And the practical side of this is sometimes our rational brain, our prefrontal cortex, is in friction with our emotional brain, our limbic system. And what happens there is you know what you should be doing, you know what you need to do, but your limbic system is sending messages of, I don't want to do that, I'm not good at that, I don't feel like doing that right now. And so you have this dissonance that's being created, this friction that's being created in your brain around this thing that we're calling this limbic friction, this rational brain fighting your emotional brain. So let me talk to you a little bit about that, because there are very specific ways to deal with that. And it can't just be willpower. Willpower isn't going to be enough to sustain success long term. So what do I mean by that? Well, we need to build some habits and some skills to help us better align our limbic system with our rational thinking so that those work in parallel and not work against each other. We want to do this with those parts of our brains instead of doing this. And that comes down to understanding a couple of things. So for instance, cold calling, prospecting, those kinds of things that as salespeople, as entrepreneurs, even as business owners, when we want to grow our business, there are some things that are going to create triggers, emotional triggers for us. And those emotional triggers can ignite that limbic friction. And what we can do about that, though, is we can start to build skills around emotional intelligence that will help us to deal with those emotional triggers in a better way, recognizing our patterns, applying consequential thinking, exercising optimism, engaging our intrinsic motivation. I've just named 4 specific skills of emotional intelligence that I use in my EQFIT sales mastermind to help people get past that emotional drag or drain that can happen when you're in a sales mode and you get triggered. And there's something that I think is so important to understand here. When we're going through our normal days, and we all do this. I've been in sales all my life. Anybody who's owns their own business or is an entrepreneur, coach, consultant, salesperson, sales leader, we all have this process that happens. We go along in our normal day, everything's going fine, and then we get a no, we get a rejection, we get something that happens. Could be a lot of different things that just plunges us down into this low place that I call the valley of despair. That's when something happens that we either don't expect or we don't like, or we expected something different and it didn't happen. Whatever that is, what happens in that moment is we are triggered emotionally. We dive down into this valley of despair where there's all kinds of emotions: frustration, anger, fear, stress, anxiety. I mean, you name it, right? The key to this is we will come out of that eventually. We will come out of that. We will have acceptance, and then we will have optimism and hope, and we will move forward. Now, to understand how we can deal with this, we're all going to have that dive down, but we don't have to stay in that valley of despair very long. That's a very important thing to understand. We actually control how long we stay in that low place, because bottom line, the intensity of the emotions we're having only lasts for about 6 to 10 seconds in our brain. But you'll say to me, okay, wait a minute, that's not right, because I got this big sale that I really wanted and it didn't happen, and I'm just continually feeling. You're continually feeling those emotions because you're reliving that moment over and over and over again, and you're not moving forward. Now, I'm not saying don't deal with the reality. I'm sure it's a disappointment. I'm sure that there may be some anxiety around this or stress, but the reality is, what do you do with it? We can't control what happened in that situation. We can control how we move forward. So the time that we spend in that low place, that valley of despair, is critical. The sooner that we can get out of that to acceptance and moving forward, the better off we're going to be. It's not easy to do that, right? But that's where the emotional intelligence skills come in, to say, okay, wait a minute. The first thing I'm going to do, emotional literacy, I'm going to name it to tame it. I'm going to name the emotions I'm having, and I'm going to reduce their impact on me by naming them so I can tame them. Okay, do your emotions have total power over you? That's really your choice. You choose the emotional environment that you live in. Yes, we can all go through that low point, and we can continue to relive that trigger, whatever it was, and we can continue to re-trigger those emotions that keep us in that low point. But moving forward is what's critical for sales success. And the best salespeople that I know, and I've assessed and worked with hundreds of salespeople over the years, the best ones don't spend very long in that low place. They move forward fairly quickly. You know what that does? It removes that limbic friction. Those things that we tell ourselves, and maybe I call it the unseen saboteur, because it's operating under our conscious level. Unless we deploy more self-awareness and more self-regulation, two of the major competencies of emotional intelligence, can we better manage those emotional events for more strategic outcomes? That's navigating emotions, another skill of emotional intelligence. I'm saying all these things so you can kind of see how they pull together, how these specific skills pull together. And I know this is a lot coming at you in a hurry. That's why I do the 12 weeks of transformation in my EQFIT sales mastermind, that we walk through all of these things and how do we develop these skills so that we can get out of that valley of despair much more quickly and move forward with hope and with possibility. And how can we understand not just our own emotions and how they impact us and the limbic friction that may be happening between our rational and our emotional parts of our brain, but how can we understand what's going on in the mind of the buyer? Because we know 70% or more of the buying decision is based in emotional drivers. So here's another little tidbit to think about. The emotional environment that you carry into a sales conversation, wherever you are in life, you're a salesperson, you're a sales leader, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're a leader trying to influence your team or other leaders. What you carry in as far as your emotional environment, emotions are contagious. People will pick up on those. We have this thing in our brains called mirror neurons. They are our emotional radar to pick up on what the emotions are of other people. So you will carry contagious emotions into a sales conversation with you. What do you want those emotions to be? You know, the practice that I see the best salespeople use consistently, that is the resetting of their mindset and their emotional environment before they go into the sales conversation. And I don't care whether it's on the phone or whether it's like this, kind of virtually, or whether it's in person, that resetting time is so critical because you want to take into a sales conversation good emotions, positive, productive, engaging emotions. And I will, in a future video, I'll walk through a neuroscience approach to sales success that I teach deeply in those EQFIT sales masterminds. And that is what I call hot cognition in sales. I'm not going to go through that today, but I will do that in the future. And the key here is if we can understand and see that little saboteur that's running around in our brain, and whether it's around cold calling or prospecting or anxiousness about speaking in front of a group of people or a tough negotiation or conflict resolution, whatever it happens to be, the better that we can be self-aware, self-regulating, and use empathy, use our social skills. All of those are competencies of emotional intelligence. The better we're going to be at getting the outcomes that we want and that our customers need from us. So that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about this concept of that unseen saboteur, that limbic friction that's going on. We really want to focus in on who we are, where we are right now, what are we feeling right now, and do we want to take that into our next sales conversation? One of the easiest ways I know to overcome that, and it's a process I've developed over the years, is if I practice empathy first, where I really truly care about what's the other person is going through, what the situation is with them, and if I really want to help them in their life and their work and whatever's going on, a lot of my stuff moves into the background. And I don't get as hung up on the emotions and what's going on in my life and all of those things that drain energy, that drain focus, that keep me from being as productive and effective as I want to be. But also, it just makes more sense, right? Most of the time, the higher sales success people out there, the ones that consistently operate and succeed at the highest levels, they're practicing these emotional intelligence skills without even thinking about them. They have become productive habits that they practice consistently. And yes, it may take some time to develop those, but here's the cool thing. You don't have to figure it all out for yourself. I have compiled 40 years of experience to help people understand how does this stuff work and what can we do with it. But I also want to bring it to you in very practical ways, ways that you can use, ways that you can put into place. And the first thing today to understand about this unseen saboteur of our sales success is don't let that limbic friction stop you from moving forward. Identify what the emotions are, tame them by naming them, understand how they impact you, then figure out how to navigate them, come up with different options so that you can get the best possible outcomes. That's what I want to share with you today. Have great sales success out there, but understand that the sales success that you want is already inside of you. We just need to align our brains in the right way, our approach in the right way, and develop the right skills to do that. And if you're interested in our EQFIT Sales Mastermind, enrollment's open right now, but it will only be for a short time. I take a very limited number of people. Hey, that's your choice, but I'd be happy to share all of this with you in a deeper way if that's your desire. Have a great day.